welcome to the May 2025 Topanga Town Council public meetings. Once again, our focus is going to be the roads, but we will also be hearing from state parks later in the meeting to discuss brush clearance and potential impediments to doing that, as well as potential opportunities and form grant funds. Okay, so I guess we're going to start with our first responders, and today, our only first responder here so far is Casey from CHP, which is great. If we're just gonna have one, glad it's Casey. Drew is trying to make it, may not be able to make it, and Chief Baldy, or excuse me, not Chief, I have promoted him, Deputy Baldy is on vacation, and this is the first time he's ever missed a meeting, so he's bummed about his perfect attendance record being solid, but we're glad he's on vacation. Okay, so without further ado, let's start off with CHP.
Okay, so I'm Officer Ramstead. I'm filling in for Cody Sturgis. Obviously, I've done this in the past. We have not been doing the accident reports right now because we have almost all of our manpower working on Palisades and Topanga still. So we're hoping to find more information out about Topanga for you guys too. Hopefully, Caltrans has some type of report that they sent in. I heard in the Channel 7 just said that they're going to be opening PCH on Friday. Hopefully, that means good things for you guys to come very soon. Continue to be patient with my officers. Our officers get sent down to the Topanga opening, the pass colors, things like that. That is not decided by CHP. We are strictly enforcing what we are told from Caltrans. So we do everything in our power to push information through whenever something arises that so all of a sudden they decide that they're not going to take a yellow pass or a green pass or a blue pass, whatever it is. Again, that is not our decision. That is the information that is given to my officers. They're not trying to hold you back. If it was our decision, we'd open up all the roads, but that's obviously not our decision. That's not our priority. We do not have engineers. Well, we might have a couple engineers on the department, but I don't know who they are. Otherwise, I'd ask them what their opinion was. So continue to be patient with my officers. They're doing everything in their power to get you through as much as possible, but we will do enforcement as we are told and as we are directed to. Okay, so does anybody have questions about that?
Actually,
yes.
So a couple things. Thank you, first of all, so much for coming. It's
of course.
Awesome to see you guys. Secondly, we've had a number of incidents over the last week or so where it's like the green passes aren't going to be accepted. Now they are. Now they aren't. So people are feeling whiplash. And every time I circle back with Caltrans, Lauren Wonder, the PIO, that's not what we've said. And so there's a certain amount of, I guess, directive that they have the authority to issue, I guess, because they're requesting it, right? And paying for it. So where is this directive coming from to you? Because she's like, I didn't say that. I didn't say anything about the green pass. Like, who's saying it?
So literally have no clue. I've talked to Ms. Wonder. I've had the information passed on to Ms. Wonder, who goes to our lieutenant. So a lot of information has been put out that my lieutenant is the one that's making the directive. My lieutenant is strictly taking orders from Caltrans for this, because just like anything else, when we work with Caltrans, we are basically, essentially their security.
Yep.
And we are the enforcement branch. So when people don't listen to, like, they just go, well, I'm going anyways, and they drive over the cones, our job is to go chase them down. It's not to determine who can and cannot come through. It is Caltrans, but there is obviously multiple people throughout the agencies that will come in, and one person just has to have one little bit of information wrong. And that seed of doubt gets into someone else's head.
Yep.
So my officers, as far as we all understand, they have the same passes. Every once in a while, we'll have a new officer from a different area that does not cover our area normally, so they don't know how to back up and say, no, this is the incorrect thing. I think one of my officers was talking to you the other day, and he says, this is my first day back. I've been on vacation for the past couple of weeks. I just got back. I'm not sure about the directive, so then they've got to call up and figure out what's going on. That's the only area that we know where any type of misdirection or misinformation is coming through. Other than that, we've been told all the same thing. That as far as I know, we all have the same information. It's when we get other outside officers, the paving security, the flaggers, all those guys, when they have a little bit of misinformation. I can't say where that can come from. But we've all been briefed. It's just the one every once in a while we have to pull up another officer from another area and they don't have the information.
Right, like Lauren had said, they hired contractors, like private contractors, to supplement you guys or help augment. And she thinks that's maybe where the breach of information came in. But who is the lieutenant that what's his name? Is he allowed?
Lieutenant Geller was, he's the one that's coming. Like I said, I talked to him, he's in communication with me, and as soon as he gets information, he sends it to me, I disseminate it to the troops. And that's how it's been. So, Officer Sturgis will be back next week,
Right.
and then it'll go through him.
No.
But every information that he's getting, like when there was a back and forth with passes, he said, this is our directive from Caltrans, here's what we're doing. And then when it changed, I talked to people that night. I think I forgot,
Yeah,
I emailed you as soon as he told
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
I emailed you right away, said, this is acceptable, we're doing the green pass now. So the information comes to him, he sends it to me, I send it out.
Good, okay, very good. And honestly, this will all be a moot point pretty soon, right?
Hopefully.
Oh, okay.
I don't, but nothing happens until it happens.
Right.
Once everybody's out of the way, then I believe
But
it.
as it stands for now, the green passes are
As
good
far as,
to go.
yes, the last information that I have, which is the current information,
Right.
is green passes are good to go.
Awesome. Okay.
Red, blue, green.
Okay, this one?
What's the situation right now on Tuna Canyon?
Look at, we're gonna have DPW do an update, so maybe we'll have them give the, report. So did you mean in terms of CHP officers?
If there's an officer
No.
down there, is the
No.
light on?
There is no officer there. We are not controlling that part, that access point at all. We don't have any officers stationed up there at all.
But the gate is open?
No, the gate is not open the last I saw.
It's due to be open, because when is it, so it's due to be open when PCH opens, which is unofficially potentially May 26th, but at the latest June 1. You got it?
As soon as the PCH
As soon-
reopens without any restrictions.
Yeah, again, what,
They open in tandem.
the only time CHP would ever close a roadway is if there's a current emergency, not an emergency where they say like this is the emergency area. But if there's an active fire, we have firefighters, that's when we make the decision to close the road. But it being closed right now, that would nothing to do with our decision. They don't even ask our opinion. They don't say, hey, CHP, what do you think? There's none of that. So any decision like that have to go to the appropriate agency that controls that, which is right back there, or if it's on the 27 on Topanga, then it's gonna be Caltrans.
Because if Topanga residents are going to Malibu, it's a lot better to go down Tuna than to go
I
to
agree.
Las Flores, because there's a lot of work on Las
I
Flores.
absolutely agree with you, but again, they don't ask our opinion on anything. There's other roadways that they're talking about opening up and closing. They don't ask us, they just tell us.
Yeah, like you said, they're the enforcement arm, they don't
Yeah.
make the decision.
Jerry, I just wanted to solve this mystery about what happened the other day, because I went down to the roadblock because I heard the green ones were stopped again. And, no, I know, I'm gonna
Possibly,
say,
right?
the guy's name at Caltrans who ordered this is, Tyler at Caltrans was the one who told the contractors not to let people with green passes through, just 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So talk to Tyler, because I heard from the contractors that he was extremely angry about people with green passes in Topanga, because we shouldn't have the right to use that road to commute.
Yeah.
And we didn't suffer what the Palisades.
So hopefully
Malibu
that
suffered.
gets squashed right away, and I believe it has. I believe it's already been squashed because I talked to the officers.
But he got back from vacation and the two guys were new. And so, yes, it's coming from Caltrans and you guys are doing a super job. You're just doing what they're telling you to do, but that's where it's coming from.
Fantastic.
There's no mystery.
Okay, all right, Kathy, and then
Yeah,
Van
you know,
Dyke.
I just as someone who's going through this and is going through it since January of trying to get to my job.
Yeah.
Like this week, I show up, the guys, I know I have a pass, I'm on an e-bike, that's my electric vehicle. I go to the gate, they're like, oh, you can't go through, you need to go talk to, that's my supervisor right there, go talk to them, oh, you need to talk to CHP. CHP is, oh, you need to go talk to, I need to get to work.
Mhm.
And I gotta tell you, organizations, put the damn thing in writing and have somebody sign it, and then it's consistent, and then it's not he said, she said, we said. Okay, I mean, we've been dealing with this for 5 months, and get your act together. I mean, seriously, because
It's not him.
it's,
though, Kathy.
no, your organizations,
Got it,
when I
got
say get your act together, your organizations,
Mhm.
realize there are people whose commute time has quadrupled. Yet we have to get to our job and back. And I don't know if you're dealing with a quadruple drive time every day, but you can do better, just all of you, clear communication and get the word, if you're gonna close it, if you're gonna eliminate a section of passes, get the word out, because you know what? I have a pass, and you know what? They put my name in a database. So you have a database of who has what passes.
Mhm.
You can send me a text message, an email before I get up early in the morning and I arrive at the checkpoint and I'm being hassled that I'm not gonna be able to get home, get to work, and then all day I stress about, am I gonna get hassled, am I not gonna get home?
Very good point, Kathy. I do want to make sure that we get in the time. Thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah, hi, I've never heard of Orange Pass. I got a kid at Valley High. Trying to get. What do we do? How do we calculate? I know, I hope it's not a.
Well, we're hoping to be out of there soon. We would love the road to be open. As of right now, we haven't had any issues. I haven't had any issues about, school.
I read about a school pass for people driving their kids to school.
People,
Yeah.
we've had multiple school
Apply for a
passes.
pass,
Well,
they
yeah,
apply
there
for a
is-
pass, and they turn them down.
Yeah, for me, I can tell you that, but it's gonna become a non-issue like in 2 days. So at this point, I would feel like it's probably not worth your time, but yes, we can get you a school pass if you need one, but I believe the road's gonna be open very, very, very soon.
Yeah, anybody that's reached out to us, we've automatically sent them to the Topanga Town Council, says, well, I gotta get to school. I said, okay, just get the school pass. I've had kids could show up that have a school ID, obviously, they're,
Mixed feelings to hear there was such a pass, because I am all over the emails that come from anybody.
yeah, I've been sending everybody to
School
Topanga Town
pass has
Council.
ever been described as
It's not you.
parents driving
It's not
kids to
you.
school. And I said nothing about
Can
it.
you, I would like to follow you afterwards, because oh my God, I feel like we sent out like 30,000 emails. I feel almost embarrassed about how much. So somehow we're missing a beat with you, so I want to make sure you're on our list. And so please follow up with me after, or come up in the intermission or something, or in between segments. James,
I'd just like to point out that you've had this information that hasn't really changed. From the beginning, we were told about the school passes, that hasn't changed. We've been told about the other passes briefly, the green passes, there was some confusion for about 12 hours about the green passes, but we quickly figured that out, and thank you, Officer Ramsey did at midnight texted and confirmed that the green passes were good, so the information is out there. It's on TSEP's ESP webpage, and it really hasn't changed. Tuna was told it was gonna be closed until June 1st. Army Corps of Engineers needed to get in that road to work on the houses that were burned in there. So that hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is they're telling us that it might open a bit earlier.
which is great news. So very good, but very good. So Casey's gonna be here is the next foreseeable
Attorney.
future. So let's get to fire because we only have a very narrow window of time for each segment. So thank you,
you.
Officer Ramstead. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Fire Chief Drew Smith.
Hi there, Drew Smith. Things are good. So for April, I didn't see anything that was extraordinary. We did have one fire that was on Hillside Road here with a shed with some mulch, and their firefighters took quick action on that. Total of 14 medical calls, 0 hazmat, 0 hazardous condition. We did have 3 service calls, 5 good intent calls. But mark my words, snake calls are gonna go up. So we're gonna be talking about that most likely next month. We all know that it's that time of year and we wanna do the maintenance, so our defensible space inspections are gonna be starting in the Santa Monica Mountains for us. So they've already started May 1st for the inland side. And as we treat, you're kind of a tweener in here, but so like May, June is when we need to start looking at our defensible space inspections. So we'll go out there and look at those. And we had some good conversation about 2 months ago at Topanga Elementary on working on their site safety plan and the all risk endeavors and stuff, and it was very beneficial. We spent about 4 hours there walking the property and looking at some stuff to enhance the safety of that school. I feel highly confident now that on high risk days, that school is potentially supposed to be in session, that we're gonna have alternative learning climate for them, which I feel very strongly about, that we don't want to have that school population in there on those high risk days. And with that, there's really, when we look at those high risk days, we're talking approximately 20 to 26 of those a year. And they usually fall within September 15th to Christmas when they routinely happen. As far as what's going on in the weather arena and our fuels, you can see it's very beautiful, lush and green out there. So we're at normal with the amount of precipitation that was received by the plants, regardless that we're about a 5-inch deficit. We normally get about 15 inches of rain. We're at about 10-ish, and you can chase 10 here to 12 here. On average, we get 16, we're at about 10-ish. But however, with that we did see our live fuels and all the natural vegetation is very green and robust. And we now are seeing to where, as we transition into spring, summer's approaching, that we're gonna see our landscape changed by that grass with its sun exposure dry out. The dry grass is the #1 promoter of fire to start and spread. The suppressant factor behind that outside fire suppression activities is how much water weight is in all those nice, beautiful fuels that we all love, and we track those. So right now, we're at a good place for those. So one thing I want to steer you to is we all lived through the Palisades fire. Every fire that starts is not a Palisades fire. We have very low, large fire growth in the absence of a strong Santa Ana wind. So with that, as we transition from in the summer, we want to make sure that our notification systems are good, that we're sending a unified message with our law partners. Look at credible sites. We are very good about sharing that with TSEP. That information is very valid that's in there. So please use useful information that has validity to it rather than some other rogue sites where people think and it can steer us the wrong direction. But one thing that we do is please with you folks that have been in the canyon a long time, share with your new neighbors, give them that institutional knowledge that you have and share that with them. And whether they're receptive is one thing, but please share all the institutional knowledge that you have about Topanga and those information that you have on best practice. Any questions for fire?
Great, all right, no, let's ask him first. Go ahead.
There's been a lot of discussion about empty reservoirs in the Palisades and fire hydrants running dry. Is that something we should be concerned about here in Topanga?
So our water system is not tied into that portion of the water. So I'll give you a little lesson in water. So remember that water systems are built for common routine fires. So if we have one house on fire, we have 2 houses, 5 houses, water system can support that. We can support that with the amount of fire equipment we bring. So our reservoirs and our water systems that we work with Las Virgenes in District 29 are very good, very robust. We have a continual conversation with them. Plus, we have 69 Bravo that has 30,000 gallons for wildland firefighting capabilities, 365 days a year. So to answer a question about water on the Palisades, did we run out of water at 69 Bravo? We did not run out of water. I had more aircraft going in there to take it out than it could replenish. So that site is built for 3 Firehawks at 5-minute intervals. When I had 5 to 7 helicopters stacked up like you're trying to transition onto the 405 freeway, waiting to get water, and they have 1,000-gallon tanks, and some of them have 3,000-gallon tanks, they're going to deplete the water quicker than what we can supply it. But we have a good water supply up there. But like anything else, can we deplete that? Yeah, if we overtax the system like with anything else. Anybody ever run out of hot water at their house with a water heater? You're the last one in the shower? Somebody took all the water?
Yeah, no, so Drew, how quickly can the pumpkins replenish from their water source?
So, depending on its use, so it usually to replenish, we try not to get it below a quarter of a tank, but it takes about 8 minutes for it to refill with stuff. But it's also dependent upon, are we refilling 4 at a time?
Right.
Yeah.
And
So,
where's the source?
District 29.
District 29,
So
okay.
we have a steamer up there, so a big fire hydrant that produces that amount of water.
Okay, great. And Julie,
I have a question because, this is for future, it's for coming into the fire season, something we need to consider. Carrie and I went down to Tuna Canyon at a certain point to unlock the padlocks for the children to be able to get down to school with their parents.
Mhm.
And it's about 5:30 in the morning and nobody could find the key to the padlocks, which is one thing. But when we asked the CHP officer, who was very nice, Officer Heitman, I think
she's a big fan.
yeah, I am. He said, I think the fire department has it. I said, okay, great. Why don't you radio them and find out? And he said, oh, our radios don't talk to each other. And I said, what? And he said, yeah, they were purchased by two different offices, so they don't talk on the same channel. And I said, you mean we just went through this huge event and nobody that hasn't, so I just want to put this in TSEP's mind and everybody's mind.
Yeah.
It's not something we can shrug about and go, like, I understand when an officer wants to shrug, because they can't change City Hall, they can't change the way it is. But we gotta fix it. Somehow we've got to fix this issue.
Because there's no cell service there either.
And there's no self-service,
Yeah,
yeah.
hell up again, yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple different things. So law enforcement, just like PhD partners, our Lost Hill Sheriff Station, they have their own radio systems. We have our own radio system. Just know when we go to a fire incident, we have a common communication plan. Law will be on a communication plan. We will be on a communication plan. No cell coverage, so on motorway gates or any type of fire access gate, common practice is we don't hold just the keys to those gates.
Yeah, I'm not
So
worried about the
what we
keys.
do is we interlock those locks, so if whoever state park shows up, LA County Fire, LA City Fire, we have all of our locks in there, they open theirs up, and if people put them together right, everybody can get in. It's called daisy chaining a lock. So, if we need to facilitate getting a lock, our fire station can do that. We can do that because sometimes they don't, CHP doesn't routinely have locks on gates on our motorway or fire road systems, where our state and other local government partners, meaning the state parks, MRCA, LA City Fire, or Fire, possibly Public Works, will have their locks, daisy chained in there.
Yeah, it was Public Works. that
No,
were
that's-
working in-
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Very good. All right, so we have time for one more
So,
question.
but we do have a good common communication plan, but routine stuff for us to do woodchuck or gray squirrel stuff, I can't talk without calling off.
So if there was an emergency.
Well, emergency, we go to a common operating plan, and then we have communications then, because we have an agency representative at the incident command post, and I say, I need your people to do this, or they'll say, hey, I need your people to do this. So law and fire, you have encrypted radios because they talk secret squirrel stuff, we don't. So there's a reason for some of their stuff, but when we go to an incident, we all operate on a common operating communication plan.
But the incident has to be declared first, right? Like,
You have to know.
Right.
There's very few things that are in nature of an emergency that we don't have a law for. Like we go to a call in somebody's house, and a medical call, we won't, but we get people there.
Oh.
I hear voices behind you.
Dorothy, hold on. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Dorothy, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. You promised us a no smoking sign at the top of Stunt and Saddle Peak 3 months ago. You said it was your responsibility and you would get it, and we still don't have it. So I'd like to get that, please. And for the sheriff, I have something to say to the sheriff. I went to go get my pass, my red pass.
Here, Dorothy.
Yeah, sheriff's
Oh,
not.
the CHP, okay, never mind, sorry, okay.
All right, next time it's.
So we are working on, I don't stock those, but remember that is, this will be in the last 5 years, the third sign that I put there. I don't know what it's on and people taking it and destroying it. So this will be the third.
Maybe you ought to put it on more, in a way that they can't steal it. I don't know these things. I just would like to get a sign there, people gather there, 10, 20, 30 people smoking and doing wheelies, and it's really scary, and we need to get our no smoking sign.
I don't know what else I can do.
This might have some tricks, but I understand your frustration. I'm sorry, that's a waste of taxpayer money too, so we've got to lock that down. Good point. All right, great. All right, so we would like to get to the roads unless anyone has a burning question for Drew. Okay. Okay, so want to make sure, how is everybody doing on Zoom? Are we interacting enough with you? Can you see us?
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Okay, all right, back to stage. So we're gonna move to our road power panel now. I wanted to start with Caltrans and then get DPW, and then we're gonna have a quick update from FEMA and Daniel. Caltrans, maybe, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 minutes, however you guys want to split it up.
Mine's gonna be brief. Do you have a computer? No.
Not really.
I'm not putting my.
Do it without. That would
I
be
can do it without.
Okay.
That's fine, 'cause she-
Sorry,
she
sorry,
instructed-
sorry.
It's gonna be hard, yeah, it's gonna be.
It's okay, give us right then.
I turned it off so it won't ring if my phone's ringing. I'm not gonna put it in. Hello, everybody. Lauren Moody, back again. Answering Casey's questions or what he was saying. Yes, there were issues with the passes. It was just a miscommunication. We got it squashed. I was getting a ton of calls yesterday and it was just a miscommunication. So I'm sure that we won't have that happen again. Just some brief updates on the work that we're doing down on the boulevard. And I have my geotechnical expert here who can answer some questions if I don't say, enough information, if I miss something. Thank you, Nina. We've got the road clear, as you know, to allow one-lane traffic control where the void is under the road. I don't know if you all know, pavement's still there, but there's a huge void underneath, so we can't put traffic load on that, and that's why we have that one-way traffic control. We've been very successful in getting the buses through. Now we have the school parents through, and we have Burn Star passes. So I know that we've given some relief to the community. Hopefully that's, without the pass issue, that's been good for you. We are preparing to get those walls built. We are designing at the same time that we're doing assessments so that we can accelerate that. Nina had just told me that they're starting to order the materials for the biggest wall, which is where the void is. First, I guess while we're waiting for those to come in, Public Works, and Lucas can probably talk about this a little more, is going to go in and move that water line. I was hoping to show you photos because Carrie had asked to have more. I'll just give them to you.
Yeah, we'll put them on, yeah.
Newsletter?
Yeah.
So you can see how that water line is exposed. It is your water main. It is the water main for the community. So Public Works really wants to make sure that that's secure and they're going to move it in so it's not exposed like that. They're going to work at the same time that our people are working. They're going to get started very soon now. So they're actually hoping that they'll be out of there before our wall construction starts, which would be great. What else did I have to tell you? When PCH opens, we know that there are a lot of rumors flying around. What I know is that we are still planning to open it by the end of May per the governor's announcement. And that's all I know right now. So when PCH opens, Topanga Canyon Boulevard will open. It is public road. It will provide access for you all. It will provide access for others. I know that there's going to be some concern, but we can't keep it closed just for a community. So we'll have ingress and egress out of that. And of course, everybody can drive along PCH at that time. Did you want to add anything, Nina?
I don't have anything to add, but I'm certainly able to answer questions if there are questions.
Do you want to hold for questions or do you want to do this and then go to June?
Okay, I feel like maybe DPW, well, does DPW have anything meaningful to add to the road closure or reopening? Or can we get to closure opening questions to Calcan first before you guys?
You specifically did TCB?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think Bill Johnson with the Waterworks District will be fine. I can see William going online. I don't think that's.
Shoot, okay. William, Jeffrey, can you give William host permission and then we'll see what his view is on the water main movement?
Yep, just give me 1 sec.
Okay, we can fix that.
I do know that with the water main movement, they expect it to take 6 weeks as of right now. It will not interrupt any of the work that's being done by Caltrans.
Okay, William, you should be good to go.
All right, William.
Yeah.
Just
Good seeing everyone. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. Yeah, Daniel got it correct. So we're anticipating starting our work early July. We got a contractor on board. They're getting their materials. All the work's going to be done within that existing 1-lane closure. So we're not going to be altering that. And once we start in July, we expect 6 weeks for construction. So like Lauren said, we're hoping to be in and out before Caltrans starts. But even if they start ahead of us or they started at the same time, we can work in the same space.
And what will your work hours be?
We're probably at like the normal construction hours, somewhere, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., something along those lines.
Okay, and it won't, we'll talk, we'll reach out to you about the work hours after this meeting, because I think we're gonna discuss that soon, but hopefully there's a little bit of latitude in when you start. Is there? Because we
Well-
have rush hour considerations where maybe,
Keep in mind,
right,
here,
but that's the
they're
area.
behind K-Rail.
Yeah, behind
They're
that.
not impacting the road. They're
All
not
right.
impacting.
All right, I'll reach out to you, but it may not be an issue. It may be a moot point, but okay, got you. Perfect.
Thank
All
you.
right. All right, so it looks like
Thanks, Jill.
Susan, we'll get to you soon. So hang tight there, Susan. I see you online. Okay, so let's take some questions on the road. Okay, so that we can do it fairly and I'm not randomly, can we line up? So, and you can ask the question so that the people on Zoom can see it as well. Because we don't have mics, the microphones aren't working. It is also important to get up close so people can hear it. And when we record it, people can hear the recording later and our voices are captured. So if people want to ask questions, they'll line up, get line, and then sort of speak towards the speaker on the TV. That would be very good. Yeah, get on up. Allison.
Okay, stand right here.
Yeah, perfect. Wave, whatever you want to do.
Really quickly, I just want to say, I spoke to my brother who's a mechanical engineer, and last time I was here, I made a big deal about the length of time the planning was taking, and I was actually wrong. It is, he said 4 months to get to this point is totally reasonable. So I did want to say that because I feel like that's important as much as I don't like the information, like, that's what he said, and I felt like I made a big deal about it, so I want to say that here. I have a lot of questions, and I emailed them to you. I don't know if you saw them or not. It was to your direct email. And I said that,
I'm sorry.
okay, no, it's okay. I just want to say I sent them to you because I said I was gonna ask them here, so. Because I really want answers, and I think that's like important. And I'll just like yes or no.
First
so we
question.
get it. Okay. Are the lights on PCH going to be flashing the way they are now? Like, is every stoplight going to function as a stop sign?
The plan at this point, and this is what I was talking about, the preparing, is that all of those traffic signals will be working. Yes, they'll be cycling, except at Big Rock and the crossing at La Costa.
Okay.
For now. This is preliminary.
Okay.
One more thing, it is gonna be considered active construction zone.
Yes. So it's
So
gonna be 25 miles an hour?
we
or
don't
what?
know what the cost of the actual speed limit is now, but it will not be 45. It will be reduced.
Will traffic on TCB, can it be limited to one direction during rush hours?
We'll have to look into that. I don't think so.
Do you guys have any modeling to tell you just how far it will be backed up, bumper to bumper?
I'll have to check on that for you.
That's really.
Can I
think-
answer this, Lauren?
Yeah.
Yes,
sure.
we do. We
You do.
actually have a team that will check the backup for every traffic light and will evaluate. That's why traffic lights
She's
can
talking
be.
about on TCB.
We will actually check, yeah, we'll make sure we know the length of the queue that's.
So you
queued
don't, are you
behind
saying like
the-
you'll study the cars once they're there?
Correct, no modeling, that could prepare for us for the backup. So we will study the backup, but I don't know if you heard the traffic or the lane, let's say PCH opens and the Topanga Canyon opens. Now, from the PCH up to Post Mile 2.5-ish, where right now the slide is and where we're gonna repair that with a retaining wall. It will be probably 2 lanes, 1 lane each direction. From that point through that slide will be only 1 lane for both directions. It'll be controlled by either people or the signal lights.
So it'll be like it is now in that one spot. So
Correct.
the 2 lanes gonna be really backed up into that
It
one
will-
spot,
it will
just
be
like they
backed-
actually
it
were
will
at
be backed up.
PCH last year when there was the slide here in the beginning of that slide by, help me, thank you,
Porto Reno.
El Porto. That was hell. It was really hard. And I just want to say, I have completely rearranged our life to accommodate this, so I don't really have any skin in the game. I had to move my work here, we're taking a huge loss, it's just like. So I actually personally right now, like, whatever, we're done. But it is like super frustrating. I don't know if maybe like maybe it's more of a question for the supervisor, like one, like, why can't this wait until school's out? Like, this is going to be another 2 hour each way, or 2 hour to school commute. It's gonna be another 2 hour commute, and I'm just like, and it's like a short time, right? It's 10 days, but it's just like, why can't we wait?
We have zero say.
That's not,
And
is that
we
true?
have zero say in what, no, not to throw Lauren under the bus, but we have no say in what Caltrans is doing on their roads. That's just the truth. And as far as when that emergency declaration expires, we can no longer at that point say you are not allowed on this road, and we cannot segregate my group at that point.
When
So we
does
have
it
zero
expire?
say in accounting.
It expires in early July, but so technically you think they could keep it, but the minute they open the road to like us or to a certain group, then they have to open it to everybody. So they can't continue to discriminate except for like first responders, like an emergency need to go type basis. But all right, so all that said, Allison, some of your questions, I think you're right, would be better directed elsewhere, but these are great questions, but I want to make sure we get some
Sure.
others in as well. Thank you, that was excellent. All right, Susan, did you want to, Susan Nisman, can we let her unmute her? And then if anyone else wants to come on up, get in line.
Carrie, how can I get on to that, the meeting online, so that I can
Susan,
share?
go ahead, unmute. I put you on unmute. There
Okay,
you go.
great. Hi, everybody. Caltrans. You kind of were talking about some of this with some of the questions, but I just want to be clear. Will Topanga Canyon Boulevard be opening simultaneously to the full open on PCH? And will the PCH lanes still be kept as they are now with one lane one way, one lane the other way, while the continuing debris removal in the trucks and all of that kind of stuff are using the other lanes? As to the issue of the emergency declaration, my understanding is that that goes through July, and it's an impact on Topanga Canyon Boulevard. I'm on a phone, on a Zoom, go around the other way. My kids, one of my elder children is knocking on the door. Anyway, so my concern has to do with the opening simultaneously. Two, I mean, we sometimes have, damn it. I gave her a key and everything. Anyway, we've had as much as 19,000 cars a day going over that boulevard, and come on, Zoe, I had, anyway, so, between 15 and 19,000 cars a day going over that boulevard. The beaches are still not going to be open, correct? So my understanding of when we had the soft closures, we had 2 of those before the third one, which turned into a fire. And those were residents only and workers and people who had access cards. So why wouldn't you, at least for the first week or two, be able to monitor the situation, make it a soft closure for residents, the same as you had done with the emergency red flag declaration or warning in the 2 prior weeks, 2 to 3 prior weeks to the fire on January 7th, which was also a soft closure at that point in time where you had to check. And I'm saying this because even under normal circumstances, I live 6.5 miles up from PCH, and there have been times when the traffic is backed up as much as up to Entrado, which is like 8.5 miles up from PCH. So you're potentially putting in an untenable situation in terms of backup. And then coming back on PCH into the canyon, well, that's a little bit more staggered because of its school and its work, and it's a different kind of schedule for that Z traffic. You have less backup potentially, but you're still going to have backup trying to get back through the canyon. So are we just going to like let people, the commuters, decide, you know, this is hell on earth. We're just going to go back to the 101 and flipping U-turns and everything else along the boulevard, where we do still have the two. That's what happens. So I'm just wondering what kind of planning has gone into this in terms of monitoring that kind of backup and being able to adjust and adapt so that it's more accessible for not only the people that live here, but the people that come and work here. And then potentially you need to get word out that the beaches, you can't go down to Topanga Beach, you can't go down to any of those beaches. Santa Monica Beach is the only one I'm aware of in the south that's open. So where the beach traffic shouldn't even be coming through Topanga, they should be going around, you know, the other way. Anyway, I'm sorry to load all of these questions on you, but I think you get the gist of it. I'm a little bit concerned of the abruptness of this and wondering why, as I said, a soft closure to monitor and see how that works can't be done for the first couple of weeks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Susan. In answer to your question, yes, we plan to open up Topanga when PCH opens. In terms of, and I've already forgotten your second question, I'll go to the beach question. We don't have jurisdiction over the beaches, so I can't say whether they're going to be open or closed. You had another, what was your second one?
The soft closure. I don't know why you can't do it for residents.
Do a soft closure when you first open it up.
Because there will be, let me answer her second question. You were talking about whether it'll be 1 lane or 2 lanes. What we're preparing for is 2 lanes. Army Corps, as I understand, has cleared enough that we can open up the 2 lanes each direction. So in terms of the soft closure, Allison?
Well, I was just reiterating what she said.
Yeah, okay, in terms of the soft closure, again, like Dan just pointed out, even though this emergency declaration, the federal declaration, we will have lifted the emergency closures for PCH, and we can't keep the boulevard closed just for one community. People may choose not to go through Topanga, they may choose to go through Topanga. You've talked about readjusting your life. You've gone through, I know, I understand.
It's totally not a reasonable expectation. I just want to say that.
Okay, I hear you, but please let me finish. We do have that limitation of the 1 lane traffic control. We just can't get around that because the road is missing. So there will be delays. We know that. As Sharif said, we have modeling. We've looked at these, but we can't just close it because you all want to have the road for your soft closure until we can get more traffic.
Okay, but wait, hold on. No, I get your point. Okay, but here's the thing, Warren, let me follow up on that. So I understand that, but there is this, big elephant in the room that we all know about. So let's, it's the fire risk, right? So when there are emergency repairs, or there's any sort of a situation where there are restrictions, even on the best possible, when there are no restrictions and everything's open to everybody, we still have difficulty getting in and out, like clearing this place if there's an emergency. So I think potentially, not to, throw too many variables in, but potentially you could use the fact that we have really, really restricted ingress and egress, and it's made extremely even more dangerous. So for that reason, you can restrict it for residents only during this emergency disaster declaration, saying that because of all this extra work, we're worried that if there is an emergency, people won't be able to get in and out. So I feel like you legally could pull that lever potentially.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that.
Okay.
But I will point out, if there is an emergency, as we have done, we've done soft closures when there are wind events. We have closed the boulevard.
Exactly.
And we've worked with emergency responders, first responders to get that closed. And Susan, you also talked about U-turns. That's why we have law enforcement. That's why we have people to enforce the traffic.
But yeah, that is.
I'm still.
Happening, you'll see.
All right, we're good. All right. No, very good question. Your question was very popular, Susan. Very good. Good job. Okay. Yeah, Todd.
Can we talk about the 405 closure or not closure, but reduced lanes that's taking place over the Topanga Pass at the same time And the SCE work that's gonna
Yeah.
happen at the same time.
The 405 work is not scheduled to actually go into closures until June or even July.
June of this year.
Yes.
Well, that's just
2 weeks away.
But 4 days. He's
4 days
scheduled
away.
for that.
That's in 4 days.
He's scheduled.
We're there.
It's not gonna happen that quick.
But he's talking.
It's in the over.
It's not beginning of June. It's not gonna happen that quick. So there will be some relief, and there are overnight closures. They're not-
And this is gonna go for 4 months in the center of town. With one
Yeah,
lane.
text. I'm sorry. On Sepulveda?
No, Edison is gonna be going through the center of
Oh, I was
Topanga.
talking about 405.
Right, but we also have restrictions that's gonna go through the center of Topanga for about 4 miles.
Can you answer that?
So let me put it out this way. We are in a very peculiar situation, right? Everybody knows that. We had fire, we had slides, everything happened at the same time. So our goal as a team is try to open Topanga Canyon as early as possibly we can. So that's what we're shooting for. Undergrounding was not supposed to happen in the middle section until much later. However, the benefit overweighed the inconveniences that you guys are gonna experience. Because that's gonna prevent fire. That's gonna, if it's underground, it's not gonna burn out. So these efforts were made with an incredible team to actually get this to happen. I think we are about a year or two ahead of the schedule. So I know I feel really bad for this community. I really do. A lot of people are blink of, bankruptcy because of all these impacts. We understand that, but if we delay further, it's gonna just get delayed and you're kicking the can down the road. So our goal is Caltrans, Southern California Edison, county, DPW, everybody's right now trying to repair what's out there is damaged as early as possible so that we can have you go back to normal lives. I understand it is very, very horrible situation. But the thing is, you have to understand that we're not here to bother you. We're here to make sure your travel is safe. So we can do a modeling. We can do a modeling, you put $1 billion modeling, but you will not be able to solve the issues because we know there's gonna be a backup. So my guess is when there's a backup, people will not come through this route unless they have to. That's my hope. Again.
All right, but if that doesn't happen, what is the game?
So again, this is a state route. We don't have a right to stop from anybody from coming. We unless there is an emergency operation that's in place. So we are trying our best right now to repair this road. Right now, the wall is being designed as we speak. I want to go into construction in June so that we can complete this work as soon as it's possible. So we can open up Topanga Canyon, as it was before.
But you're talking about safety and your job is to make it safe. And as Carrie said, to do that, it may not be safe, because people will.
The best way to keep
And
people
also,
safe.
I know I'm totally speaking out of turn, but I'm gonna keep it quick. 2 weeks ago, it was not safe for us to drive it at all. And now magically, it is safe for us to, it has much changed.
Because we put in the directional closures.
We are putting in the closures.
All right, so we want, not to add too many, but we want to make sure that all of the relevant people who are in the mix doing repair work on PQB are brought up to kind of give updates about what they're doing and when, so we can ask the right questions. So this is John Abbott from NTE, who's working on the underground. John, do you want to kind of give us an idea of what you guys need and what you're looking at so that the community can ask questions about your work schedule and how much of the roads will be taking up and for how long?
Okay, so to June's point is Edison and Caltrans have been working, I don't know how many meetings we have all the time talking about this. our project to underground from, what is it, Roger? From Happy, right, from. Yeah, from the time tunnel. If we think about the road, we think about it in terms of three areas, three sections. We have the northern section, which goes from the Trailer Home Park on the other side of the hill up to Happy Trail. That is what we consider the northern section. Then we have the middle section from Happy Trail all the way down to Jalan and a little bit further into where the time tunnel is. I'm not sure how many people know about the time tunnel, but it's in that area. That's the middle section. Then we have the lower section, which is from Jalan, let's say, down to the ocean. So we've got the road in three separate areas. So John is going to talk about now, he's going to talk about the middle section from the time tunnel, Jalan, up to Happy Trail. That's what he's going to talk about because that's what they're going to be working on next.
When is next? So can you start with when you're?
Next week.
Next week. Okay.
Tuesday.
So beginning Tuesday, you're gonna do the middle section. Okay.
Yeah, and from what, they gotta start working on it. Yeah.
So you're done with the.
Well, let him. We're
Alright.
done with the top.
No, I know that, but you're done at the bottom now.
We'll be done.
When will you be done with
We'll
that?
be done with digging that in the middle of June.
Cause there's poles down, there's no internet, there's nothing down there.
Right, but the trenching that we're doing for our system from PCH up to the 1.8 mile marker, we have a pole, we're going back overhead there. We originally thought we'd be done the end of July, but the contractor says that they'll be done by the end of June, but I think they'll be done digging by the middle of June is my take, somewhere in there. Then the electrical crews will come in and they'll pull the electrical, which is way faster than the digging of the road and stuff. Because we have, our driver in that section is that we have people in coastline, we have no way to pick them up. We need PCH and we need Topanga. But right now we have power on Topanga in the middle section, we just don't have it down at the bottom. So we're gonna complete that relatively soon. Tuesday, we are going to start excavating for the underground vaults, which are big structures that go in the ground. Most of those are going, I think all of them, but I'm gonna say most, are going on the shoulder of the road. They won't be in the road, which will be an asset to traffic, because when we set up the cranes to set those in the ground, it's a big crane. So as long as if we're setting it in the lane, then we have to kind of close the road. But we're not gonna have to close the road to set those vaults. And typically the contractor will do all the vault structures set first, and then they come back and they trench between each structure, which will be a single lane closure.
Is this similar to the first phase?
Well, it's gonna be better. It's gonna be better, Roger.
It's not sound good.
Because,
It's not sound
let me
good.
just,
No.
no, it's good. Dennis, I wanna talk about this a second. There's a lesson that was learned by SCE with the fuck up on the northern section. Excuse my English. I wasn't here for that. We all know what we went through with that. That will not happen again, okay? Tomorrow, actually, I'm meeting with the inspector in the morning, as well as, traffic control. And who else? The traffic control. And the traffic control people as well. So lessons learned about the northern section. So the middle section, in my mind, is gonna go a lot smoother, except that there will be, as people drive the canyon, as we all drive the canyon, there will be three areas that there'll be stop and go. There'll be, wherever they're working in the middle section, there'll be a stop and go there, similar to what happened in the northern section, but it'll be a lot smoother than that. Then there'll be two other stops that are in the scenic highway, which is the lower portion. But for purposes of our discussion, we should be talking about the middle section. The lower section is working itself out. It is what it is.
And we have, Sharif is here along with June, another test to that fact, that's just happening. That will be happening. So the middle section is the area that we are concerned about, and we're gonna make sure that it's done properly. We've been in constant communication with John. John has been an asset to us. John used to work for SCE. He now is a contractor for SCE, and he's almost becoming a Topangan.
All right. He has been very coming to me.
And I talked about our relationship with June, but also with the people I met in the community, meeting on Saturdays and showing the plans of what we're doing and taking back those things, those concerns, and making sure that they meet Topanga's needs. So anyway, they'll set the structures, then they'll trench, and those are single lane closures throughout as they travel from the not 1.8, but from Jelon. It's about 300 yards south of Jelon, where we'll start. Caltrans has told us when we do that work, we'll do that portion at night. That 300 yards, there's only one big structure down there. So we'll do that at night, but the rest of the work will be during the day. We've been talking about hours, like work hours. Caltrans basically in communication with the community, and then Caltrans said, hey, whatever the community will give you. And we've been working on those hours, and I think that's going to be discussed a little bit later. I think Todd's came up with some, and not just Todd, but he came up with a pretty good plan of, hey, when school's in session, the hours should be a little different than when school's not in session, and we can get a little bit more hours when school's not in, but also keeping, one of the things we discussed was keeping the start time consistent, because then people's commute is consistent. If we start changing that time from, then people are like, what time do I have to get up? And if it's just the same.
John, so just to jump in here and give people an idea about what they want when we ask them for their preferences. So what we're gonna be asking to kind of get a feel for different people in the room, what times of the day would you, at all points, there will be at least one lane open, but there will be sometimes that there's more restrictions or more work going on than others. So in general, you need what, 8-10 hours minimum a day to do work?
Our goal in working with Caltrans is to be done with this project. I think the last time we said was December 31st, but originally we were, it was getting pushed because of delays and stuff on our side. So the longer hours we have, the quicker we're in and out. And I will say the contractor that's doing this is different than the other contractor. They're very good. They're very clean. They're very neat. The traffic control company is a different traffic control company. They're actually the one we're using all through the Palisades fire stuff that Edison's doing. We have one contractor for traffic control. And they're very efficient and they listen. And then in conversations with Roger and the group is like, if the hours are set and we violate those hours, then there's got to be some consequence to that, right? So my meeting with them is, hey, if we're working 8 to 5 or we're working whatever those hours are, you don't get on the road till 8 and you got to get off the road by 5. No, 5:15, 5:30, whatever.
So initially,
if I may, originally, the hours that were mentioned, and I'm gonna talk more about it tomorrow, but the hours that were mentioned were 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. That's unworkable. And the reason it's unworkable is because if we restrict them from working 9 to 3, it takes a little while to set up. And it takes a little while to break down. So how many hours do they really have? And by doing that, you end up extending the work even longer. So instead of them being here for 4 or 5 months, they'll be here for 7, 8, and 9 months. And longer than that. Right behind them is June and Company, who are with Caltrans. And they're going to be coming in to do more repaving of the road as well. So they're right behind them, but they've been nice enough to tell SCE that they would wait until SCE is finished. But we don't want to say, okay, SCE is going to be finished in 3 years. we don't wanna say that.
Okay, so some of the windows that we're looking at, go ahead.
Carrie, and the other thing, quick side note, if any of you are getting a call right now, it's because Brad Sherman is doing a town hall. You can ignore that call for now.
Yeah, I
And
got
you
it.
can hop on that in a little while.
Yes,
Giving you a
yes.
heads up that my phone and all, yep, that's and just letting you know.
And to Roger's point, the middle section is actually 2 feet. So the very first
Okay,
part
wait,
of
so we
starting
can hear it.
is less than a mile long. It ends up at the already underground section of the town center. And so that one should go relatively quickly. The other side is about, I think, 2.6 miles or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's substantially longer. I mean, I've met with the theatricum, we've talked about the farmer's market.
We've been
talked
working
about
on
the
this for
community
about 6
center,
months.
Talked about the businesses, we talked about everybody's like needs. And like the schedules, we will work around those. We will accommodate so the buses can park on the side of the street, the cars can park, and try to avoid all those areas during the time of.
Once you're done, is the road totally gonna be repaved? Cause I've seen firsthand what's done on PCH and the lower part of Topanga. It is not smooth.
No, it's gonna all be
Yeah.
repaved. That
Will it
doesn't-
all be
doesn't- yeah.
repaved?
Council-
There's different
Council-
stages of
yeah.
paving.
They're waiting to do that until SEE is done, so they
Okay.
don't wanna
I
do
just
it twice.
wanted
So
to-
that is being handled. Okay, go ahead.
I wanna make a comment about, one second, I wanna make a comment about, the repaving that is going to go on, starting on June 2nd. The repaving that will happen on June 2nd is from the Woodland Hills I keep saying motorhome park, I don't mean to say it's like a motorhome park, but you know where I mean, mobile home park. All right, from there to Happy Trail. That repaving will start on June 2nd, and it will start at night. So they will be working, Caltrans will be working from 10 o'clock at night till 6 o'clock in the morning. So that's a good thing. The bad thing about it is you can't work in the dark. So that means that they're gonna have lights and things like that. The crews are gonna be told to keep very quiet, or as quiet as possible. But that should go fairly quickly, and Vladimir Garfinkel, who is with Caltrans, they are the ones that are gonna oversee that. So once they finish that, they're gonna go from the motorhome park, they're gonna go to Happy Trail, cut a U-turn and go back up again. So they'll be on one side of the road coming down. They'll go back on the other side of the road, go up. The good thing about that is we will see the kind of work that they're going to do. Okay, so if we're pleased with it, great. If we're not pleased with it, we will be saying something about it.
Yeah. And they have said, June has confirmed this, that for the other sections, they're gonna wait until SEE is entirely done, and then they'll do a similar at-night schedule for the repaving. So that's all covered. Okay, so let's get 2 questions in while people have them. Okay, Scott had asked to ask your question, and you could direct it to also.
Yeah, sure.
Perfect.
It's a comment and a question. Just first of all, thank you guys for getting this together and working across the different agencies. Just like months ago, we had heard that it was all going to be staged. You were in a hurry to get the road done because the road base was at risk. You guys had a different schedule for getting the undergrounding done that was completely out of sync. And now we've got the road closed. And this is a great moment to get stuff done. So I'm just so grateful that that's actually happening and that we've got eyes from the community representing us. So just like a moment to just absorb that that's a good thing. This is really cool. So I'm grateful for that and thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Okay. And then-
I think the undergrounding is wonderful. Once it's done, Topanga will be one of the safest communities in the country. And I cannot wait for the day when all the wooden poles come down.
And hopefully it'll be basically reflected in our insurance rate. We'll see. I hope. Okay.
So if we can take Old Topanga, Old Canyon Road instead of TCV, would that lessen your load a little bit on the middle section?
That's what he brought up is like, we're working.
Since they live on Old Topanga.
While we're working the lower section in the middle, you know, once people get by, I mean, that's where it's probably gonna be the most congestion, but once we get to the center of town, then Old Topanga becomes, you just go that way, I guess, unless you live up on.
Yeah.
And keep in mind also that the center, keep in mind that the center of town is already underground.
Yes.
So the undergrounding they're gonna start with is down by Shalon, work their way up to the old bridge. And then they're gonna jump the center section, and then they're gonna go from the Verizon building and up.
Okay, Connie?
3 quick questions. Thanks so much for being here.
Get closer to the, so they can hear you, because I know your questions will be good.
Okay. The questions are, are you gonna be working on the weekend?
No weekends.
Good.
They, Roger, the community.
Yeah, that was one thing that I.
And no high fire days.
Good.
So the compromise to that was that instead of going from 9 to 3, that we would start them at 8 o'clock in the morning and go to 5 or 6 o'clock. So I've got a schedule, a potential schedule.
Depending on what time, like school's in session, we stop at 5.
Okay.
Type stuff.
Next question is, can you elaborate on why most of the work can't be done at night? Like, can you just have lights on and do everything at night?
We could do work at night, but it is gonna be very, very loud. When they're saw cutting streets and they're jackhammering streets and they're grinding streets and they're backhoeing, and it's just extremely loud.
Okay.
So I'm sure in this canyon, it would radiate like the 16th
Yeah, it
chapel.
would. Okay, last question is, you said the middle section is gonna be about 6 months?
That's our target if we get the hours that we need to work it.
Okay, that's all I need. Thanks.
Excellent, thank you, Connie.
Good question.
That's for the civil, not the electric.
So with all 3 projects, what's the end date, you think? Connecting with Caltrans?
About 5 years from now.
That's what I'm thinking.
A year and a half?
So.
Yeah, I
spring,
think,
next spring.
what I think is, I think that's.
You don't have to be stuck on it, but I just want to get a.
Yeah, let's, June and John, what do you guys think?
We're pretty confident that we'll be done with by the end of December.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's paving too.
So I think we're right there.
No, that's what I want to know. Addison, and
We don't do both.
By when?
The end of the year,
Hopefully.
well, yeah.
Okay.
But they can't pave until you're done, so.
It's a realistic target.
Our target right now to pave middle section and the northern section completely done after the Edison is done. So probably start paving next spring. And within the calendar year of next year, the paving should be done at least for the middle section and to the northern section. The first section from the PCH all the way to the middle section, it's just depending on the progress of the retaining wall construction. Now, we are going to begin retaining wall construction hopefully in June, once all the design work is done. I hope majority of the work, installing piles, major work should be done within this calendar year. No guarantee there. That could be pushed out to the next calendar year to complete that work. So we are hoping once we bring the contractor back next spring, we may be able to coordinate in such a way that we can pave from PCH all the way up. So that's our goal at this point, but that really depends on the progress of the retaining wall construction and additional 7 locations cleanup that we are actively doing right now.
So it's a year, you're talking about a year.
Of course.
And talking, the lady over here that's talking about the paving is during the paving and digging process, there is a temporary paving that happens. But after they're done with the temporary paving, they do put a nice pave, but it shows the trench. It's like 4 foot wide. Then when Caltrans would come in, they would grind it all down and then they would relay pave. So you're not gonna have a bumpy road when we're done digging and waiting for Caltrans. It's not gonna be, like up here, it wasn't so beautiful because we knew they were coming in right after us. That makes sense.
It'll be nice rubberized AC.
Yeah.
It'll be very smooth.
Good stuff, yeah.
So but 1 second, let me just say one other thing, then you can do it. We've done, there's a lot of work that's gone on behind the scenes. And there are a lot of, we're all dedicated to this canyon, but I want to acknowledge the people who have really like been in the trenches with John, going through this, having meeting after meeting after meeting and discussion after discussion. So, Todd is one of our folks that were involved. Will also was involved, and James Grasso was involved, as well as, Kerry and, Stacy Sledge. So we were, we've all been really, really intensely involved in this, and we're just gonna make sure, with John's help, that this is gonna be done correctly. We learned a lot from the north
No
north
one more so
section.
than Roger, if you can't tell, but in any case, all right, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the scheduling, weekend versus weekdays. Like, what is the logic of having work hours at peak rush hour where so many people use the canyon, desperate to get to work, get their kids to work? Weekends pretty chill. It seems to me it'd be way better to keep it open on the weekend, shorter days, working during the weekdays. Yeah, but there's less people, it's not so hard to get here on the weekend normally anyway. I'm sure they'll have plenty of people coming in. Their center, they're coming from the valley to the center. They don't really have much traffic coming up. They do have some one-way or interchanging lanes. Should not be a big deal. There's far less drivers on the weekends than during the day.
I mean, you bring up a good point from the commuter, but yes, it was to accommodate businesses, but let me ask you, as a commuter, so would 8 to 5, if that were the given time?
That'd be horrible.
Horrible for you, okay, good to know, but let me just ask you, if there's one lane still available, still horrible?
It's just slower.
Just very slow, yeah.
Far more people use the canyon during the weekdays.
We need to
One
have
of
the commuter.
I know,
One of the things that we.
but I understand having
What-
had kids.
One of the things we've dealt with, like Las Flores, and I'm sure some of you have driven that, it's been a headache. LA County's inspector has been on, I deal with him all the time too. Ramblin Pacifico, any of the canyons there is when we do have the one lane, is our target is 5 to 8 minutes that you're sitting there waiting and that they're gonna turn. And that's why we're meeting with Caltrans inspector and the traffic control, but you gotta understand, the traffic control guys do not make those decisions. It's the contractor, but the contractor we have is very good. I'll be talking with them, going, hey, this is the expectation. And we've even talked about having, if it gets backed up, having spotters farther down. I even talked to the traffic control company about cameras, possibly having some type of camera out there so you can see what's going on. And we also discussed that, hey, we don't really know, you guys seem to know because you live here. We don't know how bad it's gonna be.
Oh, it's gonna be bad.
We're expecting it to be really bad, right? And it's like, we know it's gonna be a bad
It'll
thing.
be an
And
adjustment.
if there's adjustments that need to be made, and it's better to, hey, we work on the weekends and we don't work on
So
certain
that's
days.
not set in stone.
No, just
Not
like,
just like,
yeah, part of the conversation we had is like, we came up with some.
June wants to jump in, June wants to chime in.
So what we've done in the past, when there's a construction going on in certain areas and we know the traffic is gonna be bad, what we do is we do public outreach. Tell them, don't come here. So we blast them, no, seriously.
Well, on the
No,
weekend,
what I'm saying is, what I'm saying is during construction weekdays or whenever we think that, it's something that's gonna be so horribly backed up, we tweet them, we let them know, we work with the Google Map and other media to let them know, hey, we have construction going on. There's only one lane open for the both directions, so we can try to do that. And what we've experienced in the past, for example, San Francisco Bay Bridge construction, we were hoping for 30% reduction. I think we got 60 to 70% reduction because of that blast.
But that's the Bay Area.
So
It's
again,
not gonna apply here.
so again, we
From
thought
up there, I know what
we
you're
thought
talking
we
about.
thought it was gonna be horrible, but
It's gonna be
by
horrible.
by doing these blasts, we are hoping that people who doesn't
nobody
need to come here
gets on Twitter.
may not. So we can try to help it that way.
Right, you also have the signs along the freeway, Topanga closed or whatever.
Yeah, that helps more.
Yeah,
when
we're
people
gonna
on the
put, we're gonna
101,
put signs.
if you
at the
alert
dock.
them to the beaches are closed or whatever.
I told Roger we put a sign that said, hey, don't use Topanga, use Old Topanga.
So boring.
You tend to hold that you can ratchet up to discourage people like June is describing? Is there like a certain criteria or category of communications that can be pushed out to the Google Maps, the ways and all the same one lane, road work, really horrible situation, don't come or come at your.
I think we can put something on Quick Map related to Topanga, of course, yeah.
A lot, like a full court press on all of the, I think that's what's gonna be needed to just even make a dent in the
But we
traffic.
we need to make, I got unmuted. We really need to be very careful here because our businesses are dying.
Yeah.
And we're talking about something always going on that's going to be slowing down traffic for the next year and a half or the next year minimum. I understand all the work that's gone into this, very appreciative in terms of the coordination. However, somebody brought up the idea of, one, I'm very concerned about any kind of messaging that says don't come here. This is the nails are almost all in the coffin for our local businesses. Edison, I appreciate, and I hope that they got their schedule to you for the Theatricum, Wheelgear Theatricum. We still have some school days coming up, and then we have our season starting in June. It'll go through October. We don't get West Siders as it is now because of the difficulty getting in. I go back and forth on this idea of the weekend. And that working, whether, Edison working on the weekend, you did that in the last phase of the, I think it was the upper phase that ended at Happy Trail. You did work on the weekend. You were doing 7 days a week, I think, on 7 days each week. And I appreciate that Caltrans will be repaving and doing that part of their project in the evenings. But I am concerned about how long this is going to last in terms of Edison and its impacts on our businesses and the messaging when you say, okay, we'll be monitoring it, and then we put out a thing, don't come here. I mean,
So what's your suggestion or your concern? You want to, you're mentioning very succinctly, yes, all of the concerns. So how would you meld them? What's your suggestion? Keep it on the weekends, not on the weekends, what?
I'm at a loss. I'm so concerned about what's happening with our our businesses.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you. So let's see what the business is. Yeah, all right, go ahead.
Old Topanga's open. Topanga Town is open for business. If we have Old Topanga, we have a fluid route that can handle any traffic that we would need to populate our businesses can easily be handled by Old King without even being too full of traffic. And then the message is from Topanga Center to the beach is going to be one lane and full of traffic for the next half year. So people are going to get the gist that getting to the beach, but Topanga's open for business, and take Old Canyon should be the MO for the next 9 months because it's fluid. It was the main corridor through the canyon before we had new Topanga Canyon.
I mean, you're hearing from commuters here tonight, but I think you should talk to the businesses and ask them what would be their preference.
William's got a good.
We did meet with the local businesses. They were at our meetings on Saturday mornings, and they represented that 70% of their business is on the weekend.
Yeah.
So weekends became sacred because the nails are almost in the coffin. We heard it over and over again. These people are on financial brink. If we don't want Starbucks here, you don't want Chick-fil-A here, you need to keep these guys open. We need to keep what we have.
But
So
we never had that much traffic even under normal.
I live at the
conditions.
north end of the canyon, and I stopped coming to the middle of the canyon when that north end was being done. I didn't want to wait in line.
No.
I think that, here's what I think. I feel quite good that John is involved with us. Okay? I think that, that he has a flexibility that I have not seen before, other than on occasion from Caltrans. But the flexibility, will present itself, as we move forward. So next week, the week after that, the week after that, if things are not working right, believe me, we're gonna be talking. And we'll make those adjustments as we move along. It's just, all I do know is it's gonna be 900% better than it was up in the north end of the canyon.
All right, woman in the pink jacket. So for you, and the man in the blue shirt. I would love to know how the last statement you made is representative to how he just shared this is going to happen. So you shared that this is going to be something that when it's 9 a.m. or whatever time, you don't want to change it because people's commutes are going to rely on your schedule. He just said you're flexible. And it,
Right.
you know, you're going to be lenient and
No,
all
what
this
I-
stuff. So I want to know, how is it actually going to happen? Is this the time where all of this is fluid while you're gonna learn more from the community? Then you'll place that into set place?
Yeah.
Or is it going to be set place, but maybe not? I'm just wondering. Great
But
question.
Where I was saying the firmness is
Yeah.
us getting on the road, like if we say 8 to 5.
Yeah.
That means we do not get on the road until 8, not 7:45, not 7:30. That's the rigidness I was talking about. And if it says we're off the road by 5, we are off the road.
Okay. I just want
That's the rigid.
You could be working on the
But-
side of the road.
Yeah,
So
but
that
as
way
long
you're
as we're
free.
not taking a lane.
That's
right.
And, you know, we also discussed like, hey, if we're violating that, that's my job, is to make sure the contractor knows, do not violate this, because you're gonna be working 9 to 3, and you're gonna be out here forever, and they're gonna complain because they're not making as much money, they can't get the job done quickly, there's a punishment for working, and they can barely move with 6 hours of work to do.
Okay, quick question, John, I'm just gonna answer. So 8 to 5 is one of the possible windows we're considering. Would 9 to 6 be preferable or much worse for businesses or commuters? Just a sample.
I'd say ideally 8:30 to 4:30.
Okay. All right, that's good to know.
But schools get out at 3.
Yeah.
so-
Right.
But then we had 2 different times from when there is school and not school, and then school comes
See,
back.
there's some
Like-
potential, we're
Like some
discussing
flexibility, to
seasonal
Roger's
adjustments,
point,
like
and the other, it goes both ways. Yeah.
seasonal adjustments.
Mhm.
So that would
So-
be like, so it would be set for this period, and then in this period, we're gonna change, and if there's a flow back, then we'll change again.
Let me throw my dream out there, right, to say that we're kicking ass and we're doing a really good job, and you guys are so happy that there's nothing going wrong. Cause you might go, hey, can we work till 7? And you guys go, yeah, you guys are killing it, you know, let's get this thing done. And if you suck, then you'd be like, hey, you guys are not doing it right here, you know, so. That's the beauty of what we've done to work with everybody here.
Is there a scenario if you're working 5 days a week, weekdays, you have long hours, but you stop for the commuter bubbles, the morning rush in the afternoon, or like keep it fluid during those 2 times?
Well, I
So
think
you
one
have
of the
your long
things,
day?
and again, I think one of the things as they're setting up at 8 o'clock, that's the cone guys. So there's not gonna be as much interference in your commute as the guys set up the cones. And depending on how long of a span they have to put in there. And then they gotta get the equipment behind the cones, and they gotta get, start doing that. So it may be closer to 8:30 or 8:45 before they're like got their paddles out going, hey, stop, go this way. And then if we can minimize how long you're sitting there.
Okay, and then we have this fellow?
Yeah, I want to say a couple things. First of all, I got here a little late, so I don't know if Tuna Canyon was discussed.
Actually, we're gonna discuss that next, we're gonna have to segue,
I'll
so
drop on that.
Don, great.
Next, I'd like to come back to Caltrans. In my opinion, you're only good as your last job. And the last job, when the slide came down, you guys have put up K-rails that are overflowing with dirt, and you're telling us it's safe. Hey, you got K-rails down. That doesn't look safe to me. That's not a good job, if you ask me. I wouldn't hire you again. That's just me. The next thing I want to say is the beach. The beaches are what, closed? Is that the plan? They're just closed. There's no plan for the beach. There's no plan on how we're gonna fix the beach, there's just no plan. It's just closed. So we're not even gonna talk about that. Just the beach. Okay.
Okay, all right, so actually, quick clarification, good point. Apparently, I just learned that the beach, Topanga Beach is open, but the parking is not.
The parking is not, we are not urging people to go there, but the beaches are open.
Okay,
Yes.
so we only have a couple minutes left in the segment, but I want to make sure we address Tuna Canyon. So Lucas, if you could come up and talk about Tuna and what's happening there. And then we're gonna go over to county, quick mention FEMA and then the county. Yeah, you're done for probably.
Hey, everybody, Luke's brother, district engineer for the area. Also want to introduce Nick Miles, he's your new superintendent for the Malibu Yard. But just getting acquainted.
And you are?
Lucas Bradley, LA County Public Works, in charge of unincorporated roadways. So basically, the intent for Tuna Canyon Road is to open Tuna Canyon when PCH reopens, whether that's this Friday or June 1st. We don't quite know yet. I think we'll hear very shortly on that. So that's the situation as of this year, from July 1st to fiscal year July 1st. 41 emergency projects developed in this area. We've completed 25 of them. We have 16 remaining. So you see Nick and the crews out there every day completing drainage repairs, wall repairs, a whole slew of issues in the area that we're working through. In terms of that, Tuna Canyon is currently closed right now. We are not wasting time. We still have crews in there doing some of the secondary type work, doing sloughage removal along the slope so that there's shoulders for people to pull over if they're, when we're on that road. So the road is safe for travel on the roadway itself. We're just doing some cleanup so that it's, and we'll make sure it's ready for as early as this Friday at the evening. So, any questions for Public Works? Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to acknowledge your workers on the roads and the way they're putting themselves in harm's way by doing all of the work they're doing and what a good job they're doing. The people who are working it's very impressive, and we owe everybody who's on the ground a lot of appreciation, not just the people who are planning, but the people who are actually out there with the shovels, breathing that air in. It's a big deal. So I hope they're getting something for it.
Thank you.
Susan's trying to get some attention there.
Ms. Desmond.
She has to be unmuted.
Susan, you had a lot of time.
She's muted.
She's muted, okay.
I think my questions are relevant. Thank you, Carrie. Anyway, Lucas, good to see you. Old Topanga Canyon is a county road. There's been a lot of discussion or some discussion recently about, oh, well, we just advertise and we put signs up and we let people know. When we talked to Caltrans about doing that, it took us several weeks to be able to get the good messaging out there. That's why I was harping on these. If you put a message out there, don't come, it's very, it's disingenuous to say the least. Anyway, so if we're going to have Old Topanga, that doesn't need to be repaved. There's not going to be any undergrounding going on there. It's going to be open. Can Public Works find the means to put out public relations and advertising and signage and all of that communications, get it on the radio stations, get it here and there, that if you want a wonderful valley people, you want to come to the beach or you want to come to Topanga, come, this is how you do it. So, and even the county beaches, these are county beaches, so you could maybe correspondingly communicate with them in terms of consistent messaging. So we don't have the controls that Caltrans has on, you can't say anything that refers to a business being open because it's not a public messaging thing that legally can get out there. But I think that we may have a little bit more in the county, you may have a little bit more flexibility there to really hunker down and figure out a really good promotional campaign that will support our businesses and our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Okay, question.
Yeah, since I've been driving Old Canyon to get out of the canyon, and there is a lot of debris that looks like people are maybe pulling up their pickup truck and what, I'm worried about it from a fire standpoint. I mean, I don't know how we stop it. I was thinking like signage that goes up that says, please report anybody dumping along these lines. But, there is a ton now of people emptying, like I'm thinking they're doing yard work and they're emptying the back of their pickup truck all up and down Old Canyon now.
I had a conversation with Lucas already about that.
All right,
little
so
while
let him
ago.
answer.
Waste management is the waste purveyor in that area. We've already reached out to our EPD division while at the meeting, and they're gonna be out there, I think tomorrow to pick that up. However, if you are able to tell me, and I can be the conduit for this, if it's illegal dumping by means of like a landscaping company, or if it's more so like a residential bulky pickup that they should have reported it as a bulky pickup, we can provide education on from our environmental programs division on that. Also, Ms. Susan, we can definitely work with PIO on messaging, RMD, roads, changeable message boards. We can figure out a campaign as long as there's community consensus on what that looks like. We can work with supervisor's office to make sure that there's communication plan in common between the departments. Also, one other thing, someone mentioned a pain point last time I was here. It was the road closure website. I totally take that to heart. We have made a lot of changes. There is a lot of coordination going on between John. John is requesting from our land development division permits to do work in the area. For the road work on Southern California Edison doing work on roadways for Southern California Edison jobs. I'm just saying John is basically, but basically we're now relaying all of those permits, even if it's like a 2-hour 1-lane closure on any of the mountain roads. You'll see there's dozens and dozens of permit applications that have been approved by our land development are now being relayed to our road maintenance, and our engineers are now putting them on the website. So hopefully that gives this a little bit more clarity for your commuting efforts.
Great.
Any other public works roadway questions?
Oh, okay. All right, okay, good, thank you. Okay, so, very end, like right now?
I can do it now.
Yeah, I would do it now, do it quick. Quick.
I need to share a screen if they would allow me to do
I
so.
don't know if we can, Ashley, are you here?
It's, no.
She's supposed to make,
It's
he's
the
on it
one
already.
online.
Okay, so you're on it, so we have to,
Made an admin.
so, yeah, that's a good, so Justpreet, if you're still on, if you could make June Kang like a co-host and give him screen sharing permissions?
Is he on a computer there at the
Yeah, he's
library?
on a computer, he's logged in. He's here and he has his stuff. Yeah, very good.
Okay, so, let me share a quick PowerPoint. I wanted to kind of mention this to you, something that's really important for us. Okay, what you see here is construction of worker memorial in district office, downtown LA. So what this was actually is the name of the people who gave their lives on duty in Caltrans. So they're constructing that. And then basically this is the final product. So we have 32 names on that memorial who are working for Caltrans, who basically were killed on line of the duty since, when we started our department.
Is that
And I'm-
District 7?
This is for District 7 only, 32 names.
Very, very good to know. All
Now,
right.
so there's one name it's kind of hidden right here. Charles Deming, I remember that name in year 2000. I had to go to his wife's work. She was working at preschool. Let her know something horrible happened the night before. He was working at Mountain View clearing the debris, so he passed away. So I'm bringing this to you because we had a workers' memorial ceremony on May 8th. A lot of people came. Our director spoke. And the one point that she made is that she does not want to add another name to that memorial. So for us, it's all about safety. I don't know, people don't agree with us, don't believe us that we are really working for safety, but it is true. Not only the public safety, but also our worker safety. And this project that we're working on Topanga Canyon has one element of that in it. So you guys are not gonna like this, but I'm gonna say this very clearly. Now, we have what we call is vegetation control. You heard about this and we talked about it for years, right? Under the guardrail that we are putting in.
Okay, wait, Jim, just one thing, I hate to jump in, I'm very glad, I wanted the memorial, but we have to get to the
Understood.
state park.
So I need to go through this and let you know. There are 4 options, okay? We need to put this in to reduce the exposure over our workers to the light traffic. It is important for us to put that in there, whether it's a concrete, asphalt concrete, a mat, a fiber mat, or rubber mat.
So you're talking about how to do under the guardrail, like something.
Under the
like
guard,
that.
hold on, yeah, under the guardrail. So that's all we are asking. And
We can't have this.
Right.
hold on. Let me finish.
You can finish it. Finish this slide, but I
Let me
have to
finish.
move on.
Let me finish, okay? So I'm not asking for your permission to install that.
Hold on.
We are putting it in, period. What we are asking is, which one do you want? We can match the color to the ground, make it brown, but that strip, we will be putting it in this project. So
Okay,
just
gotcha,
wanted to
message
say-
received, however, I do have
Got
to
it.
get to the
I'm
other
done.
parts of the project.
I'm done.
Especially, but thank you, and it's fitting on Memorial Day to have shown that was good. Okay, I do wanna make sure we get the county update and state parks,
Yes.
so we have to do it, okay.
I wanna make sure to give our state parks people time too, because I know we've been long enough. My name is Daniel Vicente. I'm here on behalf of Los Angeles County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath's office. I am your Los Angeles and Topanga Field Deputy. Wanted to touch on fire recovery just real quick and have time for questions, and I'll get them as soon as I can. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Mingo Lake Community has cleared 252 properties in Malibu, 247 in the unincorporated areas. That includes Saddle Peak, that includes Sunset Mesa, and 1,975 in the Pacific Palisades. They will complete all properties that originally opted into the private property free removal program by the end of this month. After that, anyone who has still not opted in, the abatement process will begin on their properties by the end of June. With our, because clearing our PCH property is really at our top priority right now. Now, we've heard from Caltrans, we heard from Public Works. As far as when PCH is reopening, we don't know. It could be this Friday, it could be after that. When that is happening, what we expect when that reopens is that we expect speed limits to be 25 miles per hour. We expect on the PCH that it will be 2 lanes in each direction and 1 in some areas. There will be no need for checkpoints or resident passes at that point. However, one thing that I will touch on is that there will be surge staffing at the CHP and Sheriff's Department in order to cover any safety concerns that people are having.
There will be what stuff?
Surge, so that there will be increased staffing from CHP as well as sheriffs to make sure to.
What is, I mean, can you give me an example, like from 6 to 9 officers, how does that work? What is surge staff?
24/7.
Okay.
And so the lights
There will be a higher
the
capacity.
lights are gonna be working.
We don't know the answer to that. We expect yes, based on what Lauren said.
Checkpoints will be gone in all communities, including the
Yes.
Palisades?
Yes.
Woo-hoo, all right. Anything else?
We have an immigration town hall. It's going to be happening on the 27th from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. You can find that information and share it with anyone who is interested. We will be hosting that with Churla, as well as the Filipino Workers Center. You can find that information on our website, lindsayhorvath.lacounty.gov. I also want to implore you all to please sign up for updates from our office. We try to gather as much information as possible and get that out to you so it's clear and concise in one place. You can also take down my cell phone number. I'll say it twice. It's 213-379-2729. Again, that's 213-379-2729. And you can reach out to me with any questions that you have. If you want a card, I have some with me. Just let me know. And to be honest with you, I expect all of the properties to be cleared probably by the end of summer. And that's really fantastic. The county has been coordinating the cleanup along with our partners at the U.S. Army Corps who have been doing that. I think you may have seen some of their trucks coming through recently. Please, if you have any issues with those, let us know. You can report those to Public Works as well. There's a phone number you can call to report those if you have any issues. But from what I understand, they've been doing okay, right? Yeah. All right, good. That's all I've got.
Great.
So please feel free, yes.
Yeah, I have a
Julie?
question. When will you reinstate the beach bus, regular schedule?
As soon as PCH is open.
No.
Oh, very good. Back to the, okay. And then FEMA, she wanted to make a quick announcement. Hey, Roxanne Crawford.
Hey,
Thank
Roxanne
you.
Crawford with FEMA. Just super fast, the disaster recovery centers are closing
at close of business on Saturday, May 31st, which is 4 p.m. But the FEMA services and the services being provided at those centers will still be available. They're being moved from the UCLA Research Park on Pico and the one in Altadena. They're being moved to the One Stop Rebuilding Center, which is 1828 Sawtell Boulevard. That's in Los Angeles, and then at the Altadena Community Center. The difference is there will be no weekend hours. It is only Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. Of course, you can always reach FEMA on the 800 phone line, so.
So the disaster recovery centers are closing, but the spate of services provided there are now being offered as alternative locations.
That is correct. They didn't want to just have people not be able to sit down with FEMA face to face in person and go through any struggles they're having with their, different applications. SBA remains available at a variety of locations. They're in the Palisades at the American Legion, call 283, and they'll also be available at those same centers. I don't know the hours for the American Legion Home, but I imagine they still have some weekend hours.
We can call and ask, yeah, no problem.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I have like a general question. We get this question all the time. Is there any way that we can get a coordinated statement saying when our evacuations were, like the date our mandatory evacuation started, when we were able to return, like between the several departments here, because people from insurance to FEMA to Red Cross, residents are having to come to us to prove that they were evacuated?
This is coming up again and again with insurance companies saying, because people are requesting money to cover when they have to pay for hotels.
It's also from FEMA, it's also from Red Cross, it's from all of the.
So what is the official way to get that information that you commonly hear?
So what I can do is follow up on that, and I can provide that information.
That would be great. Yeah,
you
to contact the Topanga Town Council, that works.
Yeah, if we just can have one statement, then we can put it up and send it out to everybody.
Absolutely. I can't promise that the statement will come from me, but I will find out and follow up where that would come from.
All right, rip off a little piece and give it to you. All right, well, listen, I'll give it to you in 1 second. We need to move on to the last part, state parks.
Real quick, in the meantime, if you do need insurance help or proving when you were evacuated, you can go to
State
Cal
parks,
Fire's
just
website,
breathe, state
click on
parks.
Palisades Fire, and they have all of the reports on there when certain zones were evacuated, and you can use that as proof.
Okay, great. All right, so we're gonna be welcoming State Parks Richard Fink. I see him up here, so we could bring him on as the host. We wanted to introduce this segment. This is about brush clearance in state parks. In particular, people who live near land where there's state park land have a lot of issues with qualifying for various insurance discounts because it's not clear. State Parks has a number of impediments to clearing. So let's hear it from our new state park superintendent, Richard Fink II. All right.
Great. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
Excellent. I also, if we could unmute Noah, are you on the line here too? Perfect. Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Richard Fink. I am the district superintendent of the Angeles District of California State Parks. You're familiar with us probably because of Topanga State Park, Will Rogers State Park, but we have 23 state park units throughout Los Angeles and Ventura County. I wanted to give you a quick update on our progress since the fire, and then we're going to have a little more detailed conversation about brush clearance and some of the state's efforts in Topanga State Park around fire prevention. So, I mean, as you know, and as you all have likely experienced, the state park system had a pretty tremendous loss due to the Palisades fire. Here in our district, we lost 34 facilities, primarily in Topanga and Will Rogers. About 8,000 acres of state park land was burned, again, primarily in Topanga State Park. And like everybody else, we had a number of employees, partners, community members, neighbors that were dramatically impacted by the fire. Since that time, we've been able to reopen some of our trails in Topanga State Park, particularly the northern side and in areas outside of the burn scar. But moving forward, we do have a bit of a pause for the Topanga Ranch Motel location and for Will Rogers State Historic Park. Currently, both of those facilities are serving and participating in the state's effort to help the Palisades recover. So at Will Rogers State Historic Park, we're working with the U.S. Army Corps, and there is a concrete crushing and green waste operation currently taking place south of the polo field at Will Rogers. We anticipate that will wrap up in the next 2 months or so here as the rest of the debris is wrapping up as well. That's been a real big help and has helped speed up the recovery tremendously. So we're happy to participate in that. It hasn't slowed us down from making the repairs we need. And our debris at Will Rogers is being picked up this week as well. So it's a big moment for our recovery at Will Rogers. At Topanga State Park, in particular, the Ranch Motel location, we lost, I think, 15 Ranch Motel units, a state employee residence, 5 or 6 really important concessionaires and businesses. That site has received its debris clearing. As you know, the EPA operated that site for about 2 months to do phase 1 debris removal. Moving forward, we're going to be working with the utility company, LADWP, for the same purpose. They're going to be staging materials there just to help speed up the recovery of the infrastructure in the Palisades. So we don't anticipate any real extra modifications, any ground disturbance, anything like that at that site. It's already been disturbed. So we're going to be working with the utility company, and it should have no impact on anything else going on there. I know. Was there a question?
Are you gonna do testing at that site before DWP goes in and release the tests of the before and after?
Correct. Yeah. So our contract with EPA, our contract with LADWP, and anyone else that's going to want to use the site, if that does happen, includes the requirement that there is testing before and after the use. And that's exactly what we do with EPA as well.
Okay, so onto the brush clearance, how is that going in areas of Topanga where you're near residences?
Sure. I do want to turn it over to Noah and allow Noah to introduce herself. Noah oversees our natural resource program here in the Angeles district, has done a lot of work with the neighbors in Topanga, and can speak to our right of entry program and some of the work that we're doing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Richard. All right, Noah, you're on.
She's muted.
We see you, but you're
She's
not
muted.
audible. Yeah, you're muted.
She's
Muted.
muted.
Jaspreet, can you unmute Noah?
Hey.
But yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I'm back. Okay. Yes, thank you, Richard. So we are in a recovery phase, both for facilities and for the natural environment. And so we are allowing natural systems to recover. Many plant communities are showing a lot of resilience. Active restoration will begin planning after this growing season so we can see what areas are able to recover on their own and which areas may need a little bit of assistance. I know a lot of you are very curious about our boundary vegetation modification right of entry program. So homeowners who are adjacent to the California State Parks boundary are able to apply for our boundary vegetation modification right of entry permit. This allows for modification up to 130 feet from habitable structures, so from your home. And if you apply to this right of entry permit, one of our environmental scientists will come out, evaluate the site, provide fuel modification guidelines, work with your contractor, and it's a pretty efficient and quick process. We've had a lot of adjustments to it in order to expedite and make it a smoother process for everyone. So we have a few permits, or actually several permits that have already gone through the application process, some that have already been signed. And we're expecting many more permit applications from the Topanga community and our other residents that live on state parks boundaries within the Santa Monica Mountains.
So quick question, and just by way of context for people who aren't familiar with this quandary, it sounds like you're saying, and I think you are, if you're near state parks land, basically it's your responsibility to clear the state parks land?
That's correct. So let me explain that. So the California State Parks, as a system, we are here for the protection of the habitats and our natural cultural resources, the visitor experience, and we hold these lands for the basically the people of California, right? The residents on our boundaries as individuals and as homeowners, right? The protection of those individual properties are the responsibility of those homeowners. And according to public resources codes, um, you're able to do fuel modification or clearance or brush management on your own property. And if you're needing to do the clearance on adjoining properties, you're able to ask permission from those properties in order to do your brush clearance. Why can't we do the clearance for the boundary residents? And I know a lot of you guys have questions about that because state parks used to do, years ago, state parks used to do some of that clearance. We are no longer able to do that clearance because it's considered that this is for the benefit of the individual property owners. And so basically the state of California and the taxpayers that are, let's say, in the LA basin, right, are not responsible for providing a service that only benefits an individual resident.
Okay, got that argument. So let me ask you this. So there have been a couple of other areas that maybe aren't necessarily next to homes, but maybe near roadways. Where does the state parks position on clearing their roadways, not necessarily benefiting any particular residents, but benefiting the entire community because they're clearing their land near the road? Do you do that, or does Caltrans do that? Does the
So
county?
the right of way alongside the road shoulder is the responsibility of the road agency. So whether that's Caltrans or LA County, and so that's a certain distance from the road shoulder, and that's part of their easement, and so that's part of their responsibility. Yeah.
What is the distance that they have to cover? 8 feet, 10 feet, 10 feet?
30 feet from center
30
of the
feet.
road is usually the size of the easement.
I don't know the exact detail, but she's right. If it is county road, county is responsible to clearing the road sides. If it is a state route, then it's state.
It seems like every year it's a battle, so good to know, though, this is the, all right, so then other question I have here, and then I want to open it up to other questions. What about brush clearance of state park owned structures? Do you do brush clearance?
Yes.
Or you do?
Yeah,
Okay.
so state parks does provide the management of the vegetation around its own facilities. So we manage vegetation around our buildings and infrastructure. We manage vegetation along our fire roads and trailheads. So yes, and we are actually in the process of doing that. For example, this weekend, we'll be working with a fuels crew from CAL FIRE to do some of the fuel modification for our structures at Trippett.
Great, all right. So let me just, since we're running out of time, opening up for questions if anyone has any.
Carrie, hey Carrie, we're gonna ask a Zoom question real quick.
Okay, and that's fine. Perfect.
Before we take questions, I would just like to mention that if anyone is interested in applying for the fuel modification permit, you can reach out to me directly. My email is noa.rishe, R-I-S-H-E, @parks.ca.gov. And I sent Carrie our sample of our application, and please share that. And if you reach out to me directly, I can also share that with you.
Thank you, Noah. If you could put it in the chat.
Noah, can you put your email in the chat, please? You have
Yes.
access to do that. And then also, is there a fee for the permit?
There is, yes, there's a $150 fee for the permit. And the permits can be for an individual home or also an association or group of homes. So if we can do like a whole stretch of homes under one permit.
Great, great. All right, so we have a question, Connie?
Does she have a phone number?
Oh, Noah, do you have a phone number that people can call?
Yes, 310-699-3951. But the most efficient way to apply for a permit would be to send an email.
Okay. Only certain people-
Let me quickly also say about the fuel modification permits. So usually one would hire a contractor to do the modification. We are Our environmental scientists will meet with your contractor to make sure that they understand the guidelines of the vegetation management. And that contractor has to have a insurance certificate with State Parks named as additional insured. We can also work with community or volunteer groups to have those groups do that brush clearance, provided that they can supply the insurance requirements.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, Connie and then Kathy.
No, I'm done.
Oh, you're done. Okay, good. Kathy and then you. Or Carrie, whoever wants to.
We need to do this soft, it's a little off topic, but throwing it out again for people who are here representing organizations. If PCH is opening in June, wonderful, but is there a game plan so we don't end up with a free RV park going all the way along PCH there?
Actually.
Are we gonna do something to prevent that from happening again? That, you don't need to answer, I just wanna make it.
All right, we'll get to the next one. Carrie has a.
How are you? I got to look at the new letter. It's way better than the old one. My only recommendation is that you recommend communities to apply for the bulk permit. Otherwise, we're very grateful to get this thing moving after a year. It's been a year.
Yeah, been a year. We applied it last June, the bulk permit. And the timing, a lot of discussion tonight was about the timing of road work, but we are concerned about the timing of weeds. You can cut weeds down. Like a month ago, if we had done work, we would have been way ahead of the game, because now, boom, they grow, you know.
And to address that concern, our permit process in the past was lengthy and admittedly inefficient. And there was a lot of basically, a lot of the guidance was house specific, right? And so Megan, I met with you, I think last week, and we were able to do an assessment, and I think you already have the permit for your signature available. So we've done a lot to increase the efficiency and to train our team to be able to create those permits and the guidelines really quickly.
Will more resource environmental advisors be available? Are you the only person?
I'm not. No.
Assessment? How many-
Diana and Ariana on my team are highly trained and able to provide those guidelines and permits. And then we're also training additional folks on our crew.
I just want to say one thing to my entire community.
Yeah.
I've lived here 27 years. I hate the term weed abatement. I hate it. It should be, and Noah describes it as vegetation modification. People go around weed whacking little oak trees. Oh my goodness, we can't have them. It takes a long time for an oak tree to grow, and an oak tree is an extremely valuable tree to have here in Topanga. It helps a lot in fires to have. And all along in Trotter Road where we're getting a permit, that would have been probably more or less tree lined, but it was treated year after year after year and mowed and so forth. So we have to start thinking about resiliency when we're doing this kind of work, especially in the park.
Yes, and I think our permit process and our guidelines capture a lot of that. Vegetation can both help and hinder when it comes to fire. For example, oak trees can slow down fire, right? Some invasive species like Hirundo can severely increase the intensity of fire. So just to call it all fuel with a blanket statement is not necessarily accurate. I mean, a lot of things are fuel when you really look at it. But what we're doing here is we're actually managing the vegetation in order to achieve goals.
And do you have any advice about any kind of funds, or I know the MRCA is giving out some money?
The MRCA has provided funds to LA County Fire to do vegetation management on MRCA property, there may be additional funds available to individual property owners as well as communities. And I think the Fire Safe Alliance is a good starting point for that.
Very good. Awesome. Oh my God. I think, any more questions?
I have a comment. Hi, Noah, Drew Smith, nice to see you, my dear. Just know that your fire department works with your National Park Service partners, your state parks partners, and MRCA on not weed abatement, but land management practices that have the right fit for the right type of vegetation and how we're gonna manage that.
On Entrada Road, get that bid, state park and.
Combined effort, we all need to help each other. Good answer, huh? We're all in it together. Call me, 911.
Yeah. And yeah, you know, all the agencies and all the communities, I mean, one thing this fire has really shown is how interconnected we all are and how we all work really well together and how we can help each other, right? So for example, State Parks has been working really closely with the fire departments to figure out next steps in our land management and how we can benefit each other's agencies. We've been working really closely with Caltrans to support the recovery efforts along Topanga Canyon and provide rapid environmental and cultural review and recommendations which support the resources while allowing their work to move forward as quickly as possible. We work really closely with LA County Fire and CAL FIRE and LA City Fire to quickly do repairs in the areas that were damaged by fire suppression activities. And so we were able to restore a lot of that area, restore cultural sites, restore natural sites to conditions that are sustainable, right? So yeah, it's been wonderful working with all of these agencies and having shared goals to, provide community recovery, really.
And is the Alliance, the Fire Safe Alliance, all of those agencies, be contacted by?
Fire
I'll
Safe-
talk to you later
Fire
about it.
Safe Alliance should be contacted through the supervisor's office, through Daniel. They coordinate that meeting. Noah, thank you for your information. I have one quick question. You mentioned the MRCA, Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy. There is a tremendous amount of property, which is not state park, but is that state agency. And I'm curious as to which came out of the Fire Safe Alliance meetings a few years ago. What that procedure is now. Did you say something about that the MRCA now, is this on all adjacent properties with the Conservancy property, which is many of that in Topanga?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
Has to do with the procedure for vegetation management in those adjacent properties to MRCA Conservancy land. Has that procedure been expedited? Is it now, as you seem to mention, a contract now with the fire department? What's the deal there?
So I don't work for MRCA, so I can't comment directly on what their procedures are. I think that would be probably a question for Rory.
Or Drew.
Great. So listen, we have to wind it down because the library is closing, but I wanted to thank everybody for coming. Good, I'm glad you asked that question, and we'll just follow up with the MRCA, Rory, about that issue. Great, all right, Noah, thank you.
May I really quickly shout out to Rosie here. Rosie put in the chat that the RCD, Santa Monica Mountains, also provides review and guidelines and assessments for a defensible space, and it's a really big program. So
we're all over it now. Don't worry. Thank you. We're fire safe. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you everybody for coming. Thank you for everybody